Hello, friends! So, we just got the patch, and when we get a new patch, typically that means that in the archive, we get to see the new characters. So, this is going to be my, initial thoughts, looking, deep diving into, Fuku and Nahor. Alright? So I thought I would do this live on stream, so that everyone here who is watching my stream, and if you guys want to watch me on Abstract, make sure you check me out on Abstract. Link is in the description down below. But this is how I want to, showcase how I think about a unit, and then how I think about gearing them, and then what the shells I want to put on them, and that kind of stuff. Okay? So hopefully you can follow along my train of thought, and let's get into it. Alright, so the first one we're going to look at is Fuku. And let's take a look. Alright, so high HP, 119 speed plus 15 build. That's what they advertised was correct this time. So that's good. I don't understand why she has effect accuracy. Why does she have effect accuracy? Because I assume that this is in her dupes. Effect resistance makes sense. Alright, so let's take a look at the prowesses. Let's take a look at her dupes. So her second dupe gives her 8% more shield. That's good. But I don't understand this effect accuracy. If anyone knows why she has effect accuracy, please leave it in the comments down below. But let's take a look at the skills now. S3. Let's take a look at S3. Okay, so the S3 does not have the speed in here. Cool. That's good to know. But let's see what she gets here. She gets 22%, 12% turn meter, 24%. The shield and the healing increases to 8%. So I assume this is a 6% heal on the Moonlit Veil without level 5. I assume so. Okay, but what she does is she applies a 2-turn shield equal to 24% of her max HP to all allies. So if you build up really tanky, it's almost like Veronica's S2, where if you max it out, she also gets 24% of her max HP. So if you build a fucking Giga max HP, she gets all your team gets a massive shield. And then applies 2-turn on Moonlit Veil to herself, and then applies a 2-turn speed up to your other allies. So she doesn't get the speed. Alright, remember that. All allies with Moonlit Veil at the end of your turn after taking damage, increasing their turn meter by 12% and healing of 8% of their max HP. This effect can only trigger once per turn. So after they take their turn, if they take damage, they move forward. That's how I'm reading it. Cool. Okay, so we just get an extra 15% HP here. Understandable. Let's look at the S2. The S2 gives her effect resistance. So this is where she's getting her FRES. Alright. What does she get? She gets... this is the 3 hits equal to 10% of her max HP, and then each hit triggering Moonlit Veil 1 time for the ally with the lowest HP percentage. Okay, so if you try to nuke someone and she takes a turn, and that person didn't die, they're gonna proc Moonlit Veil 3 times. Okay, and that means, what does Moonlit Veil do again? That means you're going to get 24% healing and 36% turn meter. Not bad. Not bad. And I assume when you're trying to nuke someone, you're trying to nuke the DPS, and she just protects the DPS so that the DPS can fuck you up back. That's how I'm looking at it. Alright? Has a 100% chance to trigger this. That's at level 4. Okay. And her level 1 is where the speed is. Yep. Okay. Why is that? Let's see why is that. So Brocade. Each time an enemy ends their turn, if Fuku does not have Moonlit Veil, increase her turn meter by 8%. So if she doesn't have it, she's going to try to cycle to get it. Each time an enemy ends their turn. So if there's 4 enemies, she gets 35% turn meter increase. That's insane. But if she does have it, then she reduces her own turn meter each time. So she moves very slowly. Okay. Okay. And why is that? Let me see. So they want you to get up to here, minimum level 4. What is this? Damage multiplier? Increases the effect of turn meter plus by 10%. Where's the 10% coming from? Oh, here. Okay. So she pushes 2 allies forward. Along with the Moonlit Veil, you are getting turns if she moves. Okay. So I assume that this will be 8 to 6% without the skill up. So they want you to skill this up because this is probably probably her most important skill after her S3. Good to know. Good to know. Actually, I don't think this time it's actually the other way around. They actually don't want you to get the speed because the S3 is actually quite important here. Right? They want you to, get this and max it out. But they don't want to give you the speed. Instead, they give you the HP because that is up to, her shield. Right? That dictates her shield percentage. So, okay. I think I somewhat understand how this unit functions now. After looking at how they've, laid out your prowesses. This is actually quite important to get to, to put 3 tofus in here. So I assume that she is going to be... I think this is probably the most important part here, getting the turn meter and the shield, right? So I assume you want to put 3 tofus in here, and you want to put 3 tofus in here, and that would be 6 tofus in total. So without that, I think she's still very playable. Actually, now the more that I think about it, I think you want to go S2 first, if anything. Because the 70% chance proc is in her first skill up. That means this is going to be like a 50 or 60% chance. Is this why she needs effect accuracy? So that you don't need to skill her up? Probably. But then again, I don't think you want to be putting effect accuracy into her at all. Just proc that. You might as well just get this to 100% chance to trigger. Right? So, now that we've seen that, what kind of sets do we want to put on her? So the first thing that comes to mind is she needs to first take a turn and then never take a turn. Does that make sense? So she first needs to take a turn, slam S3, and then after that not take a turn because she wants to hold on to Moonlit Veil as long as possible. And so if we look at the skill cooldowns on this, it's 4 turns. And Moonlit Veil is a 2-turn thing. So that means she will have 1 off turn. Alright? So that means she needs to have Moonlit Veil on her as long as possible. Okay? And if she has that for as long as possible, her brocade here, or return brocade, whatever they want to call it, makes her move less. Alright? So, in a way, what you want to do is probably you definitely want to build her on Bloodbath. The longer she survives, the longer she has the Moonlit Veil, the better for you. Correct? And so how I think I will be building her is definitely her 12 piece is gonna be Bloodbath. Because the effect rest and stuff like that, that's good. But for her 8 piece, I am more inclined to put her on Strive. And why Strive? Because if they want to make you move, if they want to, take out Fuku first, they have to hit you. And if they have to hit you, then you're getting more turns, which means you get to S2 now and push up your DPS. So that will be her 8 piece, I think. And her 6 piece is probably going to be Ether Plate because you don't want speed on her, so Swiss Mire is out the picture. Colossal Guard could be another one to up her defense, but I think you want HP more because her S3 makes her shield hella big. Alright, so let's take a look at what shell gives Swift Smite, not Swift Smite, Ether Plate. Okay, and then we can decide. So we have Gigabyte, Artisan, Dark Moon, Halloween, and Law of Silence. There is actually an argument Do we want to use this? No, we don't. Unless you're going Time Weave. Which I don't think you're going to go Time Weave on her. Actually, you could. You actually could. You could go Time Weave on her, but there's no Strive. And I want Strive, so I'm looking for you for things with Strive. So Gigabyte is one of them. But we don't want to use Gigabyte. Because Gigabyte pushes her and cheats out turn meters for her. Ideally, you don't want that. Artisan is another one that you could use. So if she ever takes a turn, that means the Artisan is going to put something massive on her. Halloween is actually not bad, now that I think about it. But there's no Strive. That's the problem. Okay? So it has to be Artisan, in my opinion, if you want to go down the Ether Plague route. But if you want to go down the Colossal Guard route, then we have more things to look at here, right? So we definitely want to try out Lighthouse on her, because Colossal Guard, there is, you know, Bloodbath on it, and there is also Strife on it, right? And if you actually really think about it, Lighthouse punishes the cleavers when they try to cleave Fuku. She heals, she gets pushed to the front, and this is during her first turn. And then she gets to put in the S3 and then never move again. So I think actually Lighthouse is actually the correct play here. Because you either want to run Colossal Guard or Swift Smite now. And I think Colossal Guard is probably the better pick. So Bloodbath into Strive into Colossal Guard sounds about right. Alright, so you can see that I'm doing this all live. How I'm thinking about how to build a unit. And this is before the unit even comes out, so that I can plan ahead, right? So Lighthouse is probably the way to go. We could also go Amber. But Amber just means you get a second life. This one actually helps you cut and do your thing straight away. So don't forget, when she doesn't have Moonlit Veil, she already is getting pushed every turn. Every time your opponent takes a turn, she's getting pushed forward. Okay, so she already has an inbuilt Strive, per se. And now you just add on more Strive, and you add on a Lighthouse, and you're just gonna go straight to the top of the turn meter bar. And do your thing. So yes, I think Lighthouse is the correct way to go, with Bloodbath, Strive, Colossal Guard. So that means, unfortunately, we all have to farm Rango for this. Okay? So that's how I think I'm going to be building Fuku. 210 speed should be good. 230 should be alright. Actually, you know what? I think you should be about the 230 mark. Because right now, if we look at Fuku, even without any gear, she is already at 134 speed. So putting an extra 100 speed on her shouldn't be too hard. Right? If you get, 60 speed off your shell, you just need to find the other 40 from your gears, your modules. Not hard, just has speed in every piece, in my opinion. Yeah. As long as you roll once into every single piece, once, you should have her at 100 speed. Plus 100. Once you get her speed. So yeah, I don't think that's too bad. Even if you minus out this speed here, she'll be about plus 90 something, 210, 220. I think she's okay at that speed range. So let's stick to that. Alright, now let's look at Nahor. Nahor is blue, 122 speed, pretty speedy, I would say. Very high effect accuracy. That's good, right? Because you can see in his dupes, his second dupe is already effect accuracy. So if you want to cheat more accuracy out, that's how you're gonna get it. And I'm also very certain that in his S2, there we go. There's another 20 here, right? Which is good. Now where is his speed? His speed is also not there. His speed is in his S1. Okay, why is that? Let's take a look. Chance to increase the fence down for 2 turns. So when you're S1ing, you're putting a lot of defense down. So he's like a perma defense down unit because his S3 already gives you 2 turns defense down and a 50% chance to freeze. Now, I don't think you want to run this guy extremely fast in PvP, especially when, you know, bulwark sets are a thing. You want to always run him behind the stripper, and I think this is something that you all have to, you know, how do you say? Make it as best practice to always make your debuffers slower than your strippers. Because if you do that, that means your strippers get to do things, right? If you run to an opponent that runs full immunity, this guy's going to be completely hot garbage, right? Because all he has left at that point is his S2, which is remove all buffs. So you need to actually put 2 tofus in here. You actually need to put 2 tofus in here to get the whole thing. And if you put 3, you get 70% chance. But I think this is going to be a 50% chance, I want to say. A 50% chance. So that means you're going to need a whole lot more accuracy to actually land this. Not too bad, not too bad. Because you already are going to run a lot of accuracy on him already. So I think putting 2 tofus in here is good. What about here? 70% chance and a 50% chance. So I assume that this is going to be a very low chance here. Probably 40%. I want to say. So you definitely need 3 tofus in here because you have to get this to 50% so that you can get a 90% chance. I'm including the innate resist, right? So that's how I'm looking at it. And this S1 is where he gets his speed from. I'm actually a little confused why the speed is here and not in the S3. Because if you really want the extra 15 speed here, that means you actually have to get all the way up to, you know, 240% damage multiplier with a 40% chance to do defense down stuff. Is that something I'm willing to invest in? Probably not, especially if I'm trying to speed tune him in a way where I want him slower than my strippers. Maybe that's why it's put here. Because if he has his speed, then your speed tuning is going to be pretty difficult, right? Because if your gear is just, you know, limited, which is what it is right now, you're going to have a hard time trying to build this dude if he has too much speed, because he's going to overlap your strippers. And he already has, you know, 122 base speed. That's pretty fast. That is still pretty fast. Okay? So how do I want to build this guy? Well, first things first, he's going to need Swift. Guaranteed. Right? He's going to need Swift Rush because you want him fast. You want him to debilitate your opponent immediately after a strip. His second piece is probably going to be Time Weave, I want to say. Because Time Weave gives him more effect accuracy. Which means that, you know, on your right side gear, you could probably go, you know, HP effect accuracy at that point. Instead of going double effect accuracy and HP. So you can make him a bit more bulkier. He survives more, rotates more, does more CC. Okay? His 6th piece, I'm pretty sure he's going to need Swift Smite. And now that we know that we want Swift Smite, what do we want to go for? Let's take a look. Let's go into the Matrix Archive and let's see what drops Swift Smite. Right? With all of this. I want to say Jackal Guard is probably his best piece. His best shell. Because for one, it does damage. And it also gives you a 3-turn speed up on Awaken. And I think a 3-turn speed up is just, you know, insane. You're going to turn cycle like crazy. Right? Because the second you land your defense down, you land your freeze, you want to cycle through so that you can go and do it again. The other option you could go with is, of course, Codex of Magic, where you just slam twice on the your S3. That could work. But then again, I think Jackal Guard is probably better in that sense. Just because of the speed up. The speed up is actually super important, because not all the time you can rely on your team giving you speed up. This is self-sufficiency. Okay? And I think self-sufficiency is pretty damn good because this is 3-turn cooldown. Don't forget that Codex of Magic is an 8-turn cooldown. It's a damn long cooldown and you can't do anything. This cooldown cannot be reduced. Okay? So, that's how I think you should be building Nahor. Pretty simple. He's more straightforward than Fuku. And, you know, when you play bruisers, you have to really think about it because your speed tuning, your timing, what you want to do with it, what are you trying to counter, all that kind of stuff you have to think as a bruiser player. Okay? But that is my thoughts on both the units, guys. If you like this content, make sure you tell me you like it so that I will do more reviews this way, you know, like a deep dive. And yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys in the next one.